Many of you asked me about my skin and hair routine, and instead of just talking about what I do, I'm going to explain a bit more about the rationale behind it. So let's begin with skin. Good skin is skin that is hydrated and smooth. In order to achieve this, you need to maintain proper hydration in your body. This doesn't simply mean drinking lots of water, but it means more like maintaining the correct electrolyte balance in your body. So in this way, your skin will be supplied with water from inside, and that's the most important part. Secondly, water comes from the outside. For example, the humidity in the air. This is why our skin is so dry in the winter, because outside we have cold and humid air. We take it inside and heat it up, and suddenly the relative humidity of the air is very low and moisture is pulled out from our skin. So we can compensate for this by using a humidifier in the room, or by, for example, air drying our laundry in the room. This will supply more water to the air and will prevent our skin from becoming too dry. And similarly in summer, many times the AC units just make the air inside very dry. And finally, it's important to lock in the moisture in our skin. This is what our body does naturally by producing sebum, which is the oil that covers our skin and prevents the water from evaporating too quickly from the skin. But also moisturizers do this. Let's have a look at what moisturizers actually do. To begin with, they contain water. As I said, the water content is very important in your skin. Having skin that is hydrated means that your skin will shed the dead cells of the outer layer at a regular pace, making it more smooth. But also, moisturizers contain occlusives, which are oily substances that prevent your moisture from evaporating. For example, Vaseline is obviously like a greasy substance, and the only purpose that it has is to prevent moisture from evaporating. Moisturizers also contain humectants. For example, glycerin and honey are substances that pull moisture from within your skin, from the lower layers. And finally, they have other ingredients like emollients that make your skin smoother, or vitamins like vitamin A and B5 that are included not so much for the nutritional properties, but more for their physical properties. So they act as humectants. So dry skin isn't skin that lacks oil, it's skin that lacks water. For example, kids don't produce sebum, which is the oil on your skin, and yet the skin is very smooth. People start producing sebum only during the teenage years, and this is why typically that's when people start getting pimples, because pimples are just a buildup of sebum under the dead skin cells. Obviously, this means that the production of sebum is mainly hormone regulated rather than environmental, so it doesn't really depend on what we eat, or not to a great extent. But what we can control is how we shed the dead skin cells from our outer layer of skin. And this is what I just said so far, is that it's important to maintain correct hydration of your skin. So from the outside, from within, and by locking in the moisture. People have the misconception that scrubbing away, washing with like soap so often actually will remove this dead skin and hence prevent pimples, but is actually the contrary, because by doing so you're really eliminating the sebum, which is your natural layer of protection to lock in the moisture, and you're making your skin dry. So on a more practical level, I usually shower twice a day because of my intense workout regime, and that means that using soap each time will be detrimental for my skin. Also, really hot water is not really good because it washes off your oil from the skin, and also wearing clothes that are too tight. So what I normally do is I use like a mild soap or a detergent, soap-free detergent, every 2 showers, which for me means essentially every 36 hours or after 3 workouts. And when I do, I tend to moisturize after having used the detergent, or I use detergents that already include moisturizer or oils so that the moisture can be locked in. And usually it's good to moisturize after you have showered or after you've taken a bath, because as I explained before, one of the purposes of moisturizers is to lock in the moisture. So if your skin has already water inside, the moisturizers will help more. We talked about skin, let's talk about the hair, which actually works in a very similar way to skin. Your hair is made up of dead cells, just like for your skin, and sebum is produced at your hair follicles, so it's the same oily substance that covers your hair and has the purpose of weatherproofing the hair and lubricating. So the rate at which you build up sebum, so the rate at which your hair becomes greasy, actually determines how often you should shampoo, which is the most common debate. How often should anyone shampoo? So generally speaking, people with thicker hair build up grease at a slower pace. So shampooing every 3-4 days could be sufficient. People with thinner hair need to shampoo more often, so every other day. But the fact that this oily substance covers your hair and prevents moisture from leaving the hair, just like for your skin, also means that you have to be careful, because if you shampoo too often, you are eliminating this substance, which is your natural protection, and your hair will become more dry and break as a consequence of that. So on a practical level, like I said before, because I have to shower very often due to my workout regime, so like that's twice a day at least, I usually rely on warm water to clean my skin and to wash my hair. I usually shampoo every 5 days. I use a mild shampoo, like a very nourishing shampoo. And after, because I rinsed off all this oily protection, I need to replenish it with a hair oil. So some of those products that you put on your hair before you dry it, so that you lock in the moisture.